Well, good morning, everybody. Joe Gavalis here with the Safe Senior Hour. I hope you all are well and happy today. We're going to have a kind of an interesting show today. We're going to talk on some topics initially about ID theft and how seniors are affected, and then we're going to have Lynn Reeves, the Northwest Georgia director of the area agency on aging, come speak about what assistance that is available to seniors who are living in nursing homes and are trying to transition back to a home. The federal government is trying to have more people do that to get out of the nursing home area and back into their homes or in a area where they can be with their loved ones and not necessarily in a nursing facility. But that'll come on. She'll be coming on around 10:15. I have had an occasion last week to speak to about 50 seniors, and one of the issues that came up was identity theft, especially about seniors, and like how do the bad people, the professionals, how do they get my name? How do they get access to my computer when you have these computer frauds where they actually apparently take over your computer? So I'm going to address that because it really hit home to me that on Thursday, April 25th, out in Arizona, the U.S. attorney charged two Arizona business people in an indictment for overseeing a scheme to forge hundreds of thousands of counterfeit documents containing improperly obtained personal information, primarily relating to senior citizens, which they allegedly sold to their clients and then allegedly provided this information to telemarketers. I thought it was pretty interesting. Especially after being with the seniors last week, when this was one of their main concerns. The indictment that was brought down in last week alleges that beginning in 2013, two individuals acquired lists of names and contact information for thousands of people, primarily senior citizens, and used this information to create false sweepstake leads, which they then sold to their clients as authentic. They directed a team of employees and associates to write the personal information of the victims onto counterfeit sweepstake forms, even though the victims had not agreed to this use, even though many of the victims have never responded to a sweepstake mailing. That has happened to many people where they say, how did they know my name in the sweepstakes? I never applied. Well, here's a good example of what happened. They got names and just had people fraudulently fill out the names of the seniors and then submit them into a sweepstake type fraud. Now, of course, these people are only indicted, they hadn't been convicted. But based on our meeting that I had last week with the senior citizens, about 50 of them, the local sheriff here read out and gave out a flyer called Peace of Mind, dealing with protecting your identity, protecting your credit from people scamming or trying to impersonate you. And I'm just going to go over these. These are some items that the sheriff, suggests everybody should be aware of. They say establish, this is the sheriff, establish an account with creditkarma.com. It's a free credit monitoring service, and it's a great resource. Check them out, see if it works. I can't speak for them, but the sheriff says when you have a free credit monitoring service and it works, it certainly helps you. The second item, which I don't think we all do enough, is order and review your credit reports. If there are disputes, make corrections if needed. And you get, remember, 2 free copies of your credit report a year. Now, that might change in countries or states, but there is a way to get a free copy of your credit report. Important for seniors is freeze your credit. Freezing your credit doesn't allow anybody to come in and use your name and try to set up a new credit card or a new line of credit at someplace else by freezing it. And people say, if I freeze it, how can I unfreeze it? Well, you'll be assigned a 6 to 10 digit PIN number. And then as long as you secure this PIN, in the event you wish to thaw your profile, where you might want to try to buy a car, or you might want to apply for credit, you can enter and freeze the credit. As an adult, you can freeze your children under age 16. And I think seniors, you realize how often do you need to apply for credit? So you need to be checking your credit reports. But if you freeze your credit, then the unscrupulous people who might want to try to use your name to gain advantage of a credit card for a short time or a line of credit where they will pretend they're you, can't do this. It'll be frozen. So when the company that they're applying for the credit card, the bad guys are, they go to check the credit rating of the person who's applying, who's using your name, it'll say, no, the credit's frozen. So you will not be involved in that scam. Another point is set up alerts with your credit card account, as well as checking and savings. And you can set the amount of money when you can be notified when a certain amount of money is trying to be charged. I say go through your credit card bills. I don't know how many statements, I don't know how many people do, but you'll start to see small amounts of money charged. And that's the one of the methods of the scammers. They'll try to go in and see whether they can get a $10 charge at a gas station or $15 charged at some fast food restaurant. They know then that the card is not frozen and that people haven't reported stolen or the card number. So when you see these, I remember on mine, I saw every month I started to see like a $3.95 charge for some service, and it was just an initials like ABC service. I had no idea what it was, and I remember when I first looked at it, what, $3? You know, I'm not going to waste it. Well, I called. Well, apparently it was some company in Europe that was one of the scammers, had gotten hold of my credit card and just constantly were running this $3 monthly fee through. And when you say, well, what's $3? Well, when you run it for 100,000 people, because most people don't care. So my advice is please check your statements, look at it. Another way is that you constantly, I don't know about you, but I constantly get in the mail numerous offers for new credit cards. If you are not interested in new credit cards, you know, tear it up, shred it, throw it away. I have not used this, but apparently there is the sheriff's office reports that there's a company, www.optoutprescreen.com, and this stops all mailed credit card offers for 5 years. Might be something to look at. I have not done it. On your on dealing with home security, always password protect your wireless router. Emails, be cautious of phishing scams and suspicious emails. Avoid lottery letters and publisher clearinghouse scams. Remember, and we say it, and David says it all the time, if it looks too good to be true, it is. They are out there, the bad guys, running just a professional operation where they're going to keep throwing numbers, names, issues out there, scams, and they just hope, you know, 1 in every 100, 1 in every 1,000 pick it up, because that's how they make their money. What really hit our community this week, and I was at a gathering, was a discussion I had from several neighbors that of mail thefts in our neighborhood. In fact, last Friday I got a call from postal inspectors or from a task force which has postal inspectors, Secret Service, and other federal and state and local law enforcement on it about a major ring committing mail thefts. If possible, avoid placing outgoing mail in the mailbox. Why? Because if you're not there to pick it up, you have people sweeping the areas trying to get mail. And why do they want your mail? Well, they can get mail, obviously credit card statements, bank statements. It gives them more information. Please drop off, if possible, at the post office or a nearby blue mailbox any outgoing mail. You know, the old, you know, when I was growing up, I know people still do, you have the flags on the side of your mailbox and to tell the postman you have mail that's outgoing. Well, you're also announcing that to the bad guys. And if they get their hands on a letter going out, and in our neighborhood, it happened twice, seniors put the letters in the mailbox, raised their flag, and both of them were to pay service operators like landscapers, and one was a contractor, a painter. The bad guys got a hold of the outgoing mail, you know, opened the envelope, got the check out that each of these elderly women signed, and so now they have it, and they're on the for the bad guys, they can get their hands on these software that cleans, it's called, it washes the check. They put the check in, it takes everything out except your signature and all the bank codes. It keeps the picture and whatever you have on your check. It keeps it there, and so they can write in any date and any amount of money and who to pay it to. Well, in these cases, both cases, they went in and created a new bank account. They wrote a check for, I think each were $2,000. And again, the seniors did not balance their checkbook every month. So they didn't catch it. And it took the authorities, when they started tracing some of the transactions that were taking place, to find the banks and find out where these new accounts were open. So please avoid, if possible, of putting mail in the mailbox, sending it out. The flag is a dead giveaway of outgoing mail. Now, a comment somebody asked was, what about apartments? And they said, in apartment complexes, the outgoing mail is secure, the way the boxes are set up. So you people live in apartments that you might want to check, make sure it is secure. If there's any mail that comes in with your name or comments on it, please shred it. Just don't discard it, throw it in there, because people actually, believe it or not, go through the garbage and attempt to find any information they can. So with that, we're going to take our first break from our first segment on the Safe Senior Hour.
Perhaps you are struggling to cope with the disease of addiction. If not, you probably know a family member or friend that needs help in battling the cravings and the personal and professional damage done by the effects of drugs or alcohol. Get a pen and paper and be ready to write down the following. These are the issues that the trained staff at the Atlanta Healing Center address and treat every day. Their doctors and counselors with over 40 years of practice in the field of addiction can treat the suffering individual in a thoughtful, compassionate, and experienced manner and guide him or her along the path to recovery. So call 770-696-9862 and speak to a knowledgeable staff member about how you or your loved one can be helped to enjoy a better and healthier life. More information is also available on the website at www.atlantahealingcenter.com.
Whether cruising the strip in a 57 Chevy or taking the family on a vacation in a 71 Oldsmobile Vista Cruiser, You need to tune in to Classic Cars with Steve Ronaldo and Jim Weber every Saturday from 8 to 9 a.m. on americaswebradio.com.
Get your pen and paper ready. If there's a move in your near future, I'm here.
Okay, Lynn, can you hear me okay?
Good morning. I can barely hear you.
Okay, well, I'll turn it up if we get there, okay?
Okay.
And you should be able to hear. Can you hear me, Lynn?
Barely.
Best. That's Around Town Movers. Call them.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Well, hello, everybody, for the second session of the Safe Senior Hour. And we're very fortunate to have Lynn Reeves, the director of the Northwest Georgia Area Agency on Aging, on the phone today. How are you doing, Lynn?
Doing good. Good morning, Joe.
Good. We appreciate you coming on. Over the weekend, I was speaking with some individuals concerning their loved ones that were in, they had been in assisted living, they moved into nursing homes, and they were kind of talking with several people about how, well, that means I guess their parents have to stay in the nursing homes. And I remember you and I had discussion with your assistant, Lindsay, about a program that the government and you all sponsor, and I appreciate you taking the time talking to us about trying to help people to get out of these long-term care nursing homes and trying to get back home. Can you go over that program for us so we can just tell the listeners out there what potentially is available, certainly in Georgia, if not in the rest of the country?
Sure. And thank you for having us. And Lindsay Wilson, the assistant director, is here with me because if I miss anything, Lindsay will straighten us out.
Yes, she will.
I'm sorry?
I said, yes, she will.
Yes, she will. That's right. We have a program. It's Nursing Home Transitions, and there are two parts to that. One is from the federal level that money follows the person, or we call it MSP. So if anyone ever hears that, that is what they're speaking about. We are moving towards the term community transitions for that, but we also have a state that's funded directly by the state of Georgia that's just referred to as nursing home transitions, or NHT. But the program is to assist individuals to return back to the community. Can be from a nursing home, an inpatient facility, a hospital, or intermediate care facility for aging or someone that has developmental disabilities. And there's some criteria that goes along with each one. For the MSP, they must be in a nursing home for at least 60 consecutive days, or the nursing facility. They must apply and receive at least 1 day of nursing home Medicaid. And then they must have community Medicaid. That transfers over at some point, and they'll have to enroll in a Medicaid waiver program. That's more from the federal funding. And for the state funding, which is nursing home transitions, it can be a shorter stay. They must be in the nursing home or short-term rehab for at least 20 days. They need to be age 55 or older. They must be a U.S. citizen or have legal status. And their income must be below $6,175 per month. So there are some different criteria for both of those. Let me just give you our number for Northwest Georgia. It's 1-800-759-2963. If someone can't remember that, we can always mail them this booklet or give them that information on the phone. But part of the funding helps them transition back into the community, and that funding can be for household furnishings, household goods, because if you've been in a facility, maybe you do not have those things to return to or need that assistance in your home. Part of it can be those actual moving expenses, utility deposits, rent deposits, transportation. We do home modifications. Sometimes getting a place to stay is not the concern. Maybe they have a home, but they do not have a wheelchair ramp to be able to fully utilize their home. So we are able to help with that home modification. So there are other things we can do to either get you into a home or make your current home usable.
Right. I think that's such a great plan. I was not aware of all the details. I know I've heard you and Lindsay discuss it, but in the details, how does one, well, first of all, let's just talk about the application. I know you're dealing with your area, but it's basically Georgia. And since there's federal funding, I'm sure each state might have the ability to work through their programs where they get federal funding to do it. Can you just let the listeners know where do you find an application? How do you learn about this? Because I know the families I was talking to over the weekend, they were very interested in helping an aunt or helping a relative that might meet some of the criteria you said.
Okay. We, through our agency, we have a options counselor that goes out into the community to the nursing homes or inpatient facilities, and they will get a referral from the social workers inside of the facility and say, we have a client who has the potential of transitioning back into the community. So then our options counselor, they go into the facility and do just like their name suggests. They give them all the options that are available to them. So they'll, and I'm trying to think, I think I get those reports every month. I believe we had 25 or 30 referrals from the nursing homes within our 15-county area this past month. And so she will go out to meet with all of those referrals. More than once. I'm not sure her exact. It could be 2 or 3 times, just to see what they have in place, what their family support is, because without knowing those things, you really can't tell somebody what their options are. You need to know how involved the family is, what they already have. So she'll go out, talk to them about their options, and then if they seem like the candidate for these programs, she'll decide maybe what program best fits their needs, and then she begins to work with our transition coordinator, who will start the process of transitioning them back into the community. So I'll also tell you through these programs, we also work for the Centers for Independent Living. You'll hear them referred to as a CIL, a CIL, and they're in our communities, and they do some of the transitioning also. So it's a great partnership. So that's how it goes. That options counselor goes out, meets with the client, works back with our transition coordinator to see how they will transition back into the community.
Okay, Lynn, I was with this group. I mean, they said, how do we apply? Is there a way that the relatives or caretakers of the people that are in a nursing home, who can they apply to get a counselor to look at their condition? Or is it just the counselor has to find them? How does that work?
Well, I mean, they can call the Area Agency on Aging. They can call us, and if it's in the Atlanta area, they can call the Atlanta. There are 12 Area Agency on Aging throughout the state of Georgia and other states also that are responsible for having option counselors in the community to do this. So if the facility themselves do not give them an application or make that referral to us, they can call us directly, and we'll refer our options counselor to that person. So if someone calls our intake number, I'll just give that again at 1-800-759-2963, and they say to us, my loved one is in a nursing home, and I would like to see about the programs to transition back to the community. We're going to direct that to our options counselor to go out to meet with them.
Okay.
There's no application on our part. She will go out and do some paperwork,
Right.
but a phone call can get the process started.
Right. And that was on the federal system. There was a limit. I know there's a dollar limit of income. Is that correct? Is that what you're saying?
Well, with the money follows the person, they'll need to have been in the nursing home at least one day Medicaid.
Okay.
So Medicaid's involved with that. The nursing home transitions, that's not a requirement, but they have to meet some income criteria.
Okay. So let's say I apply, and that was the other deal. Does somebody, well, let's say seniors leave, they might leave their home, and they might still own their home, or the kids might own it now, or actually have control over it. But then I heard you say, talking about maybe in an apartment or something like that. Can you go over like the scenarios of where people would leave a nursing home and go to?
Well, it happens quite often
Okay.
where we transition someone to an apartment. It doesn't necessarily have to be senior living. It's just like any one of us going back to it can be just have a landlord has a home they want to rent out. But there are some requirements at residential or at apartment complexes for background checks.
Sure.
And we will facilitate that process. Some of our funding allows us to do that, but we can also pay the first month's rent. But in our area in Northwest Georgia and across most of the state of Georgia, affordable senior housing is an unmet need.
Wow.
We do have a lot, but we have a growing senior population where it doesn't seem to be as much as we would like there to be. But we will start to, sometimes when we meet with seniors, they already know where they want to go. They know they've heard of something, they know. But if they don't, part of our job is to start looking for senior housing or housing for them.
Right.
I'm not sure if that answers your question.
No, you did. You're again, obviously, as I started off, I don't know that much about the program, and trying to relate back to what people were saying over the weekend about hitting questions to me about their loved ones.
Right.
If you can you stay on a few more minutes here? I've just got a couple other. We got a break now for this segment. Would that be? Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah.
Good. Okay. Well, that's great. So with that, I want to thank you, people listening, because it's a good topic, and please stand by for our next segment of the Safe Senior Hour.
The Docs for Patient Care Foundation is your way to join the fight and become a member of an organization created by doctors for patients, dedicated to fighting for your healthcare freedom and preserving the doctor-patient relationship. Get a pen and paper. Write down docs4patientcarefoundation.org. That's DOCS, the number 4, patientcarefoundation.org.
Lynn?
Hey.
Yeah, we're just going to go in a couple things about that setup you have with showing people, which I think is great, all the different assistance.
Assistive technology.
Yes, yeah. And then just give us maybe some estimated success rates of doing it, that it works, if that'd be great. And then we'll let you guys go to your dementia training.
Okay.
Okay, we'll be on shortly here.
Don't press me too much on success rates. I'm not sure that I have anything.
Well, I mean, success mean moving. I mean, there are successful moves out of these homes into other homes.
Oh,
I don't care numbers. I mean, that works.
Doctors and counselors with over 40 years of practice in the field of addiction can treat the suffering individual in a thoughtful, compassionate, and experienced manner and guide him or her along the path to recovery. So call 770-696-9862 and speak to a knowledgeable staff member about how you or your loved one can be helped to enjoy a better and healthier life. More information is also available on the website at www.atlantahealingcenter.com.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Well, hello, everybody again. Joe Gavalis with the Safe Senior Hour. We're back on our third segment, and we have as our guest today on the air Lynn Reeves, the Northwest Area Director of Area Agency on Aging. It's known as the Triple A's. It's known as the Triple A's. And we were talking during the break and trying to just figure out just to go over some that successes that take place that apparently I know in my conversations with the citizens talking about their loved one, they say, well, does it work? I mean, how long do they stay out? And I was asking Lynn if you could just run through that. I guess you are aware of successes, maybe not numbers, but of successes.
Absolutely. For this fiscal year that we're currently in, which started in July and will end in June, we have transitioned, I think, 12 nursing home transition clients, and at least that many from Money Follows the Person. So that is about 24 individuals that we have successfully moved back out into the community, and that is huge. 24 doesn't sound, but it is. It's a lot. But we also monitor them for a year through the Money Follows the Person program. Wow. So for 365 days after they transition out, monthly follow-up, just to see if there are any additional resources they need, just really to help them and to ensure that they're able to maintain their life in the community. So
if someone, and the question to me, somebody's in now just recovering, is in a, and when I say, I guess it's an assisted living, and maybe that's not covered, but they're going to be moved out of the assisted living into some kind of a long-term care, a nursing home or some other area, and they're saying, is there help to get them moved back to their house? You know, that their familiarities of their home and everything would be great if they could just function there. Is this like something, is that what we're looking, assisted living to a nursing home, out back home? Is that how it goes?
Well,
or could go.
I think people can go into a nursing home for rehab. They can be in there they don't have to come straight from an assisted living. They could be coming from their home. But the key is that the options counselor, they go out, because each person is different.
Right.
And it doesn't hurt for us to come out and assess the situation. We're not going to put anyone back into the community where we feel like they would be harmed or they would be unsafe. That's why that options counselor needs to come out and just assess the total situation as well as the person's strengths, and where there may be some gaps along the way. So that would be the key. That's part of what we do. That's part of our funding. They don't have to pay for us to come out. That's just what we do. We send that person out.
Right. And the concept behind this, getting people who want to get back into their homes or nursing homes, is the concept, it's got to be a humongous cost saving, because these nursing homes, their homes are very expensive to live in.
Absolutely. It may take a wheelchair ramp, which could be $3,000 to $5,000 to install a wheelchair ramp at a home, when it easily costs more than that a month, or close to that, of maintaining someone in a nursing facility. So the payoff is much greater. If it could just take a little something. It could take some assistive technology to keep them in their home. It definitely for someone to stay in nursing home facility, the cost is much greater. And let me mention this too. During this, I mentioned before the break about senior housing in
Right.
Georgia. During our most recent legislative session, there was agreement that there would be a study committee on senior housing options. So they've created a committee that they're looking at the lack of affordable independent living options for seniors, and that committee will be comprised of 5 House members, and they will have until December to make recommendations. So for Georgia, that is a big win for that to happen, and hopefully it just opens the door for more seniors, more options for them in the future.
Yes, and I think as you mentioned, the senior population is growing, and it's only gonna be needed more.
Yes, exactly.
And help. When you said when you will help them at the new residence, or you'll make recommendations, I remember you were fortunate. You gave us a tour of a situation where, like a facility where seniors can come and look at some things to aid them. Could you go into that? I think that's wonderful, and the scope of the items that you were showing seniors that would help them.
Sure. We have an assistive technology lab, and again, just like the other AAA or aging departments throughout the state, everyone has those. Ours was located in Cedartown, and we've recently moved it to Rome. The goal is for more, expose as many people as we can in our 15 county area. So we've recently moved it. So it'll be in Rome, and the idea is it may take a little piece of assistive technology to keep someone at home. So it can range from independent living aids, personal care, medication. We have about 100 items in our AT lab, and it can be something as simple as an elevated toilet seat. Right. Maybe that is what's required to make someone's life in their home enhanced or just able to toilet by themselves. And when we do, we show these devices, and then also we try to have where you can get the item, how much they cost. Like for an elevated toilet seat, we give 3 Walgreens, Amazon, Home Depot with a cost associated with each one. But that device is about $25.
Wow.
So it's not to make someone's life better for them. It can be something as simple as you can't button your shirts and you need a grip hook that helps you button your top. That's $7, but yet it gives someone back that independence where they don't need help dressing themselves.
Well, I remember when I went on a tour with you, there were some just great things. There were people who have trouble getting up out of a chair. And I think one of the big chairs, like a leisure chair, you're watching TV, but it's a chair that they make that actually lets you, lifts you. It's like a boost. It's not like an elevator. But things like that where people can now function better, because the last thing they want to do is try to get out of a chair, and this helps them get out of that. And I think these are things that people sometimes don't think of to ease or help people who are seniors or have some disabilities.
And I will say too that we have a partnership with it's called FODAC, which is the Friends of Disabled Adults and Children, and they deliver 25 of those pieces to us each quarter that are lift chairs, canes, bathroom chairs, potty chairs, anything. Again, these assistive technology, and we work with our clients at no cost to them to get those pieces to them.
I think that's wonderful. I remember one of the things that you showed were people with like arthritis. You have different like tools.
Right. Some eating utensils. If someone has Parkinson's or has tremors to where they cannot, it impacts their nutrition when they can't hold food items on their fork or spoon. So we have special devices that help them eat so that they get the nutrition they need.
Well, I know that one of the areas where you had an actual bathroom set up where
Yes.
it was, where there were like supports to help people get in and out of a bathtub, things like that.
And we have emergency response systems. If there's a fall, how do we help someone with that? You know, the Amazon, the device, the Echo or the
Oh, right,
you know,
right. I know what you're
the
talking about.
Alexas.
Right.
You can use that as assistive technology to remind you when to take your medicine, to turn off. You know, we can help someone, show them how to fully utilize that to keep someone independent in their home too.
Well,
that is, it's just something we don't think about, all the uses that could do.
I know what's near and dear to David's heart is a turbo dryer shower, and I don't know whether but that was the idea where you could dry without a towel. So it's, you know, because a lot of times seniors don't have that mobility to do that.
That's right.
And I think showing that, people are just shocked at what's out there or what things to buy that can help a little thing. There was I remember one of the tools, another one of the areas where they had the display of these of this equipment or items that can help was something as simple as a can opener. Yeah,
Right.
you know, because they had trouble opening a can, and this can opener made it very simple to do it. It didn't cost a lot of money, rather than people trying to, you know, to pop it and everything else. It's
Right. Exactly. And I'll just mention this, in our this legislative session, there was $157,000 that was allocated to the assistive technology lab. That is going to provide an additional $7,500 for each of the labs. And there's 21 labs across the state. There's 12 AAAs. And those centers for independent living, a lot of those have labs also. So there's 21 in the state. You just have to reach out and contact someone, and we're happy to tour people here. And I know the other agencies feel the same way.
Well, that is great. I know your background is University of Georgia graduate, but
yes,
in the diet as a but being a dietitian. Can you just think something, as we're about to wind down this segment, of some aids to help people in the way of in and around the kitchen?
Well, I think you've mentioned some great ones, just like the can openers. We have a tool book, which is what I'm looking in right now, and it's a catalog where we can tell those things. So let me see. We've got cutlery utensils, a rocking knife, and
I'll tell you, if we can just take a break, we can come back, and then we'll wrap it up with you right after the break. Okay. But if we can get a website or something where people can ask for that calendar, we'll be glad. I mean, the catalog, we'll be glad to send it to them. So with that, let's take our last break here before we move into our final segment on the Safe Senior Hour.
Get your pen and paper ready. If there's a move in your near future, I'm here to tell you that the folks I used and now recommend is Around Town Movers. Timothy and the guys recently moved me, and I am and was totally satisfied with a sometimes not so fun experience moving. Call Timothy at 770-378-4708 and make it a good move and a good experience. Around Town Movers for that local or cross-country move. Timothy, Around Town Movers, in my opinion, are the best. That's Around Town Movers. Call them.
And I just wanted to clarify something that Joe brought up regarding a body dryer, and that is that the body dryer. It's called a Tornado body dryer. It has nothing to do with turbo. That sounds like something you're going to get blown out of the shower with, but it's Tornado body dryer. Go online, look it up. It's a very gentle, warm, circulating airflow that does exactly what it says. It dries your body. You can do away with your towel, and as it's not only drying you, it's drying your shower and taking care of the fact that you don't have to come back in and take care of mildew and mold and all of that stuff. So look it up online, Tornado body dryer. And we'll be back with more of the Safe Senior Hour right after this.
45 years of experience is behind the most trusted name in auto transportation. Passport Transport, the first and finest today. That's why Passport Transport is the preferred auto transport for major auto manufacturers, concours, museums, tours, and collectors, and should be your choice from across the state to across the country. When you have the need, go to PassportTransport.com and enjoy the peace of mind referenced experience will give you. Passport Transport.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Welcome back, everybody, to the last segment of the Safe Senior Hour. Joe Gavalis with our guest Lynn Reeves from the AAA or the Area Agency on Aging in Northwest Georgia, and we've been discussing the assistance of helping people possibly moving out of maybe nursing homes back into their residence or apartments with the aid of some not only financial assistance, but some guidance from the state. I know that's in Georgia, and it might take place in other states. So we're just wrapping up our discussion with Lynn, and you were talking about a catalog that you were talking about.
Yes, it's a catalog that we developed for the items in our area, and we developed it for presentations or for when someone calls into our 1-800 number that our counselors have it. We don't have it on PDF to really send out, but if someone calls our agency at 1-800-759-2963 or any of the other AAAs or SEALs, they can tell you what they would have available. But we could definitely, if someone calls us, let me also mention our webpage.
Right.
We have a new webpage. It's Area Agency on Aging in Northwest Georgia. There's a brief video of what we do and gives other information, and we would encourage someone to come on to that as well.
Right. I think the idea that moving people out of these a nursing home where the money, the cost monthly is very expensive, but back home to a familiar area where maybe it's more accessible by their loved ones or friends than making the trip to the nursing home to see them certainly helps everybody, certainly helps the quality of life.
Yes, definitely. And that's our goal. We want to do all we can to put the services in place to help someone live in their community where they want to be.
Well, I think that's great, and I do think that these showrooms where you show seniors and people, the disabled, some things to help them in their life is just really good. I just remember seeing the one with you and just looking and saying, boy, how great that is. And the way you have it set up is like little rooms. If I remember, yeah, like a bathroom, like a bedroom.
Well, it has a bedroom, a dining area, it had a bathroom until we moved, so we're still working on that.
Right.
But it is set up to take care of, like you discussed, eating. We try to set it up based on what your needs are. Is it brushing your teeth? Is it eating? Is it the falls or alert device? We do have it. It could be nutrition. We have several books. We have a lending library. So we've tried to narrow it down. Is it medication management? We have an area for that. So it really is an easy to navigate area once you walk into the lab.
Well, I think that's great. I think that just goes hand in hand with these two programs. I think these programs are just really significant, and I hope they grow, and I hope the other states do it. I'll be interested to hear the statewide rundown on how successful it is. This group I was with, they just thought that was just one of the smartest things, because their aunt did not like being in a nursing home.
Sure.
And if she could come back, and it had to do with her mobility around, she didn't walk that well. But I do know there are as you said, devices that will help people when they're alone. And that's the other topic that we see in that group of 50 I spoke to, and then over the weekend, is, the situation where as we get older, seniors are either, live alone for whatever reason, and the conditions that they live in sometimes are not great, but anything we can do to make their life easier. But the other big issue is, if a loved one or somebody's not checking on them, there could be falls or issues where somebody is in pain laying there and they can't get to a phone to call 911. And I think there are some ways that new devices that help that. Is that correct?
There is, and the falls, the ER, or the emergency response system we have,
Mm-hmm.
it connects to a landline.
Right.
So that there's an upfront cost to purchase the system, but it doesn't require the internet or any ongoing bill. And I think that happens times when people buy a service. If they can't keep up that payment, they may lose it. So this is a one-time with a landline, and we have. If someone is interested in that, then we have a case manager that goes out into the community to install that in the home.
Wow.
And one of the great things about that, too, is if there is a fall, if it was my parent that fell, they could put my number in as the first one to contact, instead of going, maybe I can run over there and look, instead of them automatically dispatching emergency personnel.
Right. I know, and everybody's seen ads, and we're not here promoting any one item over anything else.
Right.
We're just here just saying there are options out there to look at it. I know I was at talking to a senior, and their relatives encouraged her to buy a new Apple 4 watch. It's an Apple 4S watch.
Okay.
And so I got that, and that ties in with your cell phone.
Okay.
And if you go, as they say, if you go vertical at a hard level, it calls you on your watch and says, "Are you okay?" And you don't answer in 30 seconds. It'll call the numbers just like you say, which one up 3 numbers and 911 to come for help. And the significance of whether it's the Apple device or the device you talk about or any other device, some of these things are, help me, I can't get up. You press a button. They're all good. And the reason why, because a lot of people are alone for long periods of time. And we heard at the talk we did before, there were people went out to work in the garden, and the wife was in the house working on something and didn't pay attention. The gentleman couldn't get to the phone. He laid out there for over 2.5 hours, where he fell and broke his hip, and he was in pain. And he was yelling, but nobody was around. It was in a rural area, till his wife finally said, "I haven't seen John. Where is he?" And he went out and heard him yelling. Well, if you had the phone or had a device, that you could get some help. We had another situation where somebody fell coming out of a tub, living alone. And so the importance is, call your loved ones, keep in contact, whether they're relatives or good friends. That's the best way to do it. And I know some of the areas that we go into, and I think Lindsay I think she heard this last time too, and I know Lynn, we've talked about it, is actually the sheriff's departments in a lot of these areas and counties, or police departments have set up a system where you can sign up. So somebody calls and checks on you. And if you answer, they'll chat with you. Sometimes they'll talk more. Other times they'll just be, "Are you okay?" That's fine, and move on. But if they don't get a response, they will send a car out to do a welfare check. And that is really important.
And let me say, too,
Sure.
that if they're connected in a senior center through home-delivered meals or eating within the senior center, if you're getting a home delivered meal, having that contact with that person delivering that meal, that's more than just a meal. That's someone to kind of lay eyes on someone each day. So that program is more, the nutrition is huge, but also the interaction that person can have. But also if they're a member of a nutrition center or senior center, I know in our area, if they're not there that day, our site managers call to see if they're okay or where are they at. So being able to be, if they don't have a lot of family in the area, or having that connection to the community is important too.
That's great. And when you talk about community meals, I think that's referred to in the community as Meals on Wheels. That's a type of whatever it is. But I know when people say my family gets Meals on Wheels, or my aunt, or whatever it is, whatever it's called, there is some kind of a program to help, whether it's the disabled or the seniors who need to have a meal. And remember, on those meals, and correct me, and I don't mean to be diverting this, but I was shocked. I always thought it was delivered every day, but they're delivered, like for how many days? They're like,
well, in our area, it really depends because of the requirements to keep foods hot foods hot and cold foods cold. If they're a certain distance from the center and they have enough staff to volunteer, they'll get that hot meal every day. If they live further out to where it becomes unsafe to get a hot meal, they may get several days of frozen meals.
Right.
Of course, we don't just deliver those without going into the home to make sure they have a microwave or oven, that they know how to take care of those meals properly also.
Or they have a caretaker that will help them, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Right. So there are many ways that people stay in contact with the seniors. We certainly need to do that, because isolation is a bad thing for seniors, and a lot of them are lonely, and this just breaks the monotony of being alone. And but again, the nutrition part of it, at least they're balanced meals where they can get some, either a hot meal or some good food, rather than just keep opening cans. And not that cans are bad, but you just can't live on that over and over again.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate, Lynn, you making yourself available, and Lindsay today, and I can't thank you enough. You want to give that number if anybody's got any inquiries, they can call you, and it was an 800 number I think you left.
Sure. It's 1-800-759-2963. We're here for information. We're here for referrals. So sometimes you may not know what you need, and just give us a call and let us start that conversation.
Well, that'll be great, and we thank you very much, and we'll look forward to speaking with you again. So with that, thank you. That ends this segment and today's show on the Safe Senior Hour. Remember, elder abuse doesn't report itself. If you have any questions, comments, or issues you want to bring up, please contact us at safe@americawebradio.com. With that, you all have a good day, and talk to you next week.
The disease of addiction is a life-altering challenge, not just for the person suffering its effects, but also for the